probably about even. But the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to have declines, and you need to address those.
Cynthia Schaefer. I really appreciate what Mr. Ramos said during his introduction as SCTC president regarding the importance of transparency. So I always have a lot to say, but tonight I really just have one question, and it goes back to that Martin Cisneros contract. And the reason why I harp so much on what, relatively speaking, is I would think the way it's being treated is an inconsequential contract. It's still taxpayer dollars, $25,900. I've asked for 2 years now, and I've asked for that contract, the signed contract, and it still has not been provided. And at the last board meeting, your chief business officer was very emphatic about the board approving the contract for $25,900 on a couple of occasions. And he assured you specifically that there was a signed contract and that the board had approved that amount. If that is so, why will the contract not be provided? Is it unusual for the chief business officer to not be able to provide a contract? I sent an email today, and as usual, I did not receive a reply, and I would like to go ahead and read it. Mr. Stratton, you stated multiple times that the board approved $25,900. In fact, you assured Superintendent Martinez at the April board meeting that the board approved $25,900. It's all on film, and I provided the link. Where is the signed contract for this amount? Please explain why the subsequent invoices, which are all, interestingly, under $500 or $5,000, were paid to MCOE. Superintendent Martinez, it is undeniable what Stratton did. As his superior, I respectfully request you investigate and hold him accountable for his dishonest actions. Just as Mr. Stratton uses the word phrases and increments and such things, those words were never uttered during the presentation by Monica Macias to cover his tracks to pay Martin Cisneros without board approval. Perhaps you should follow up with your senior admin staff when they give you the same explanation for the new DI school. $25,900 may be inconsequential, still taxpayer dollars, but it is an easy contract to exemplify how it is imperative to question the, quote, approval and execution of larger scale contracts. You are talking millions with the new DI school. So I guess I'll send a follow-up email. I'm hoping I receive an answer, because 2 years of being ignored is inexcusable and unconscionable, the way that you treat the public.
Frank Garden, Mission Park School. I have children in the district. Down to one now. At the last regular board meeting on May 9th, I asked several questions about action item B3. This was the approval of salary increases for management, confidential employees, and assistant superintendents. It's not so much the principals and the confidential employees I'm taking issue with, but based upon performance and merit alone, I really don't see how you can justify awarding Mr. Sanders and Ms. Sanders, Mr. Stratton, and Ms. Chida is another automatic 4% raise this year, and then 3% next year. I've been coming here for 2 years as well, and I've witnessed a lot of dysfunction in that time. Obviously, I can only highlight a couple things in 3 minutes, and less than 3 minutes now, but one of the most embarrassing events occurred in August of 2014, I believe. At that time, this board passed a resolution at Ms. Sanders' recommendation that attesting that every student had sufficient instructional materials. Teachers literally had to stand up and say, no, that's not true. We're still missing textbooks at Lincoln School. And then we had to get the media involved to fix that problem. Now at this last meeting, as Cynthia just mentioned, Mr. Stratton is apparently authorized to expend district funds without board approval, up to $5,000. And I couldn't find this rule that he referenced anywhere in your board bylaws. So appreciate somebody pointing that out to me at some point. You know, even if such a rule exists, though, it's just not good government. You pass a resolution authorizing $5,000, the superintendent signs a contract for $11,000, and then we learn that Mr. Stratton writes 3 more checks for $4,000 each right around there. So $25,000. You know, we've been asking for transparency for 2 years now, and this kind of behavior just does not build trust with this community. Finally, I understand we have the situation at Lincoln School involving a child with special needs. They've been talking to BBB, and Ms. Chidas hasn't addressed that situation. Here we are, end of the school year, the parents been calling the district office every day, asking where's my child going to go next year, and there's no callback. That's just, it's not acceptable. So if you were to really look at the performance metrics, it becomes clear that this 7% raise over the next 2 years, it's not justifiable, at least not for the assistant superintendent. They make $142,000 a year, plus another $4,000 that you're going to award them next year. Their wages are more than 20% above the top step of the principal salary schedule. So you can't really argue that compaction is an issue. You're not doing it for compaction. The board report thinks the adjustment will contribute to improved morale. I really don't think low morale is an issue among these 3 employees. And you already called for a special meeting, I see, on May 16th to approve the raises. So you did it just without anybody knowing. So, you know, here's the ask. Give me about 10 more seconds. I'd like the board to pass a resolution on the next agenda to reverse that action in part, not for the management and confidentials. And please withhold the salary increases of the assistant superintendents until such time as they bring their performance up to acceptable standards.
Okay. Request by Assistant President. Just wanted to point out, you know, we were talking about 2 years ago when this Cisneros and the website and the way that the TV was going, you know, video recording and the audio being out of sync, like a minute, and the longer it goes, the more out of sync it gets. And I mean, those are just housekeeping items that help should have been taken care of a couple years ago already. You know, we paid for a website that kind of just redirects itself back to a blank page, which isn't very productive either. And apparently the videos haven't been up for a while. I mean, these things are pretty tiny still. Probably, oh, am I in a, airplane or something, just an empty airplane? So, kind of just some housekeeping stuff that I hope you guys will address sooner or later. Actually, make good on this thing.
Anybody else? Okay. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. There's some errors in paragraph number 2. At the bottom of page 3, there's 3 names. Ms. Corona, Ms. Garcia, and Ms. Russell. They should be shown as removed as June 3rd, 2016. So, does anyone need to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull something just for a question. It's consent agenda item number 5F, home tech remodeling with regards to the window replacement project.
Mr. Ramos?
Same thing, just some questions on 5, A, B, and C.
Right?
Thank you. Please pull item 1, the board minutes of the special meeting on May 16th.
Anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent items agenda with the exception of the special board meeting minutes of May 16th, 2016, and items 5, A, B, C, and F?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, 5-0. Mr. Garden, you have a problem with the minutes?
Yeah, thank you. So I downloaded the minutes of the May 16th special board meeting. Obviously, I wasn't there. We didn't know about it. Regarding the last item, salary schedules for management, confidential employees, and contracts for assistant superintendents. I see two possible errors here. First, the minutes indicate that trustee Estrada initiated the action to award the salary increases. However, the roll call at the top indicates that trustee Estrada was absent from the meeting. So I don't know if you were there or not, Mr. Estrada, to make this motion, but the public has no way of knowing if you were there or not. There's no video. Second, the minutes also reflect that Superintendent Martinez replied to a question from the last regular meeting on May 9th. I believe it's a question that I asked. And she noted that the fiscal impact for increasing the assistant superintendent salaries is $9,700. I feel really confident that that's not an accurate number. A 4% raise for one assistant superintendent is right around five grand. Multiply that by 3 and you get to $15,000. And then you factor in the 3% raise for next year, that's another $4,200 per person. So you're at $13,000 for the second year. So altogether, the fiscal impact is more than $27,000, which doesn't even account for the impact to SCESD retirement, which Mr. Stratton is always standing up here and saying is this huge liability for the district. So I just want the record reflected.
Yeah, but are you saying that she didn't say that, or that that's inaccurate?
It's not accurate.
Well, okay, but the minutes are just supposed to be saying what's been said, right?
But what she reported at the meeting is not accurate.
Okay. But are we to say that this is not an accurate transcription of what occurred at that meeting?
Well, I guess you have a point there, but can the minutes of this meeting reflect the true numbers? Today's meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mr. Henry.
Sean, yes. So I do think it's important, I know that we've mentioned, but we've thought it's important in the past about, what occurs in the notes being accurate. In this case, if you have an important vote and you have two bits of information, you have to update one or the other to basically say whether Mr. Estrada was present or whether he was not. And to basically say, because if you pass a motion and the person's not there to present it, you have some inconsistencies, and I don't know about all the rules and laws and things like that. That could just be a problem. I know you don't like changing your notes, but in this case, I think it's important since a vote was taken, and the accuracy of it, and trust, especially when it was in a special meeting and no one was there to see it, is in question.
So who made the motion?
I'm sorry, the motion was made by Foster, Hoffman, and seconded by Amy.
So that needs to reflect that change on them. Can you repeat that again?
The motion was made by Foster Hoffman, and seconded by Amy Ish. And Mr. Estrada was not at that meeting.
Thank you. Okay. So with those changes, do we have a motion to adopt the special board minutes of May 16, 2016?
With the corrections. Second.
Okay. Got a motion to second to approve the minutes for the May 16 special meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 5-0. We're going to move on to 5A, B, and C.
Brown, SCTC. So, some SCTC members stated some concerns about these positions being contracted out. I understand there's shortages. It's not about not hiring people from contract agencies. The concerns were, do they understand what the process is here? Do they go to a training to familiarize themselves with the job description and what they have to do? And if there is, and if they get evaluated, because there's been some concerns about the way they are doing their job, or in this case, refusing or not doing their job. So is there, do they get evaluated? Do they not get evaluated? Do they go to some training so they know how our system works here? So it was just questions. I'm not questioning going outside. So those were some of the concerns that were brought up.
We're on 5, A, B, and C. Did you want to talk about? Your floor.
Beth Gear, Director of Special Education. To address the questions, the outside service providers are interviewed once they are referred from outside agencies. The same procedures